All right, moving on, we're going to talk about Malaysia's banking industries. Malaysia's crowded banking sector can benefit from mergers and acquisitions. Executives from the country's top investment funds told a conference on Monday, seeing opportunities to cut costs and compete with new entrants into the industry. The comments come as Malaysia's banking industry is set to get yet more competitive following the issuance of 5 digital banking licenses by the central bank at the end of April. So joining us this morning is CEO of Ringgit Plus, Liu Uihan. All right, Liu, first question is, what is the lay of the land in Malaysia's digital banking offering, not just towards the 5 digital bank recipients, but the incumbents as well?
Hi, morning. At Ringgit Plus, we've been observing the banking industry for the last 10 years, so we're fairly tuned in. And a lot of people don't know this, but there are actually 26 banks in Malaysia which are licensed. Obviously, there are some which are very specialized towards the investment side, but around 15 commercial and retail banks are around Malaysia, right, today. And this is even before the 5 new digital banks come up. So you can expect by the end of 2024, without any specific merger or acquisition going on, there are going to be 20 retail and commercial banks in Malaysia, including the 5 digital banks.
And Han, I want to ask about the CIMB, the apps first, in terms of channels to the consumer, because if you look at the CIMB Octo apps and follows by BU of Bank Islam and May app of Maybank, is this what's to come in terms of channels to consumers?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at what happened about 20 years ago, when the first internet wave came, the likes of Maybank came up with Maybank to You, the likes of CIMB came up with CIMB Clicks, the likes of Hong Leong Bank came up with Hong Leong Connect. Similarly, you're starting to see that kind of focus on not just the internet, but mobile and mobile apps specifically. So you have things like CIMB Octo, BU by Bank Islam, May over the last few years. You're going to start seeing more and more of this as traditional banks try to compete with their digital-only competition.
All right, there are many players in the mix, right? So because of that, can the market sustain these players, or is there a business case for consolidation to happen in the retail banking space?
Yeah, I think if you want to balance this out, right? If you look at most major developing and developed markets, you will see somewhere between 4 to 8 major large anchor banks, right? And I think we're Malaysia, we're kind of a mid-sized country. There's really no reason why we shouldn't be moving towards that for kind of 20 banks in 2024, towards that kind of 4 to 8, because we're seeing this in most developed markets. Banks need to be sizable to be able to be profitable and to be able to cover enough segments of the market. So there is a case.
Han, if you look at the top 5 banks in Malaysia, basically controls the top 5 controls around 48% of the market in Malaysia. How would you see consolidation, especially for the small scale banks in Malaysia, taking place? More of mergers or straight out acquisitions?
Yeah, a couple of things to say here. The first is that we're not quite kind of in that large 4 to 8 large banks covering the whole market yet. And what we see is a lot of dispersion, right? So my expectation is on the kind of big bank to small bank dynamic, it will be the top 8 banks looking to acquire the bottom 8 right now. And then when it comes to digital, the digital banks, what a lot of people don't know is that they are actually limited in asset size, right? The largest digital bank over the next 3 years can only be 20 times smaller than the smallest commercial bank right now, right? So let's take Alliance Bank. They have 60 billion of assets, right? The largest digital bank is limited to only 3 billion, so 20 times smaller than an already small bank in Malaysia. So what you'll see is also that kind of, hey, look, it's a very small bank, but it's got digital capabilities. If I'm a big 8 player, why not? I'll see how they go over the next few years and then look to acquire them for their capability or for their new segments that they're acquiring.
In Malaysia, there are about 26 firms in the Malaysian banking sector. So in your opinion, what would be the ideal number of players in the market?
Oh, difficult to say, but I mean, if you look to other countries, right? You look at the UK or Australia, or even close by like Singapore and Thailand. What you see is 4 to 8 kind of very large anchor banks. You might have little niche banks here and there, but like 4 to 8 very large, anchor banks that cover most segments, cover most of the economy. And I would look towards doing that. And in fact, if you look at what Bank Negara has been talking about, they also say, they don't say it outright, but they slip out a few numbers out there. And they've said somewhere between 6 to 10 is what they're looking for. Not directly, but in a couple, if you look across the releases that they put out, they've used the number 6, they've used the number 10 in several places. So I think, not too far away from that kind of high single digit number.
Han, asymmetrical payment solutions, provider like Apple Pay or telcos entering payments provides even more competition, surely. But would this be a catalyst to a consolidation?
Yeah, I think these kind of merchant acquisition and payment processing providers really help to bring more people into the banking sector that maybe were not that engaged with the banking sector. And I think that the main thing that it brings is a leveling. So whether you're a big bank or a small bank, or a digital bank, if you have these capabilities, right, it really levels your capabilities, right? Having Apple Pay, over the next 2 years, everyone can get it, right? You just have to sign up with Apple. There's no case of only the big banks will get it, the small banks don't get it. Everyone will get it, which should make consolidation easier, right? Because all the capabilities are all, largely on a level playing field. So I think that might be a catalyst. But for me, the bigger catalyst is this kind of looking towards specific capabilities that digital banks might have, as well as specific segments, for example, MSME segments or lower income segments, which are currently underserved by the current banks, that a digital bank or a smaller bank might cover. And that will be the larger catalyst for consolidation, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Liew Oi Han, the CEO of Ringgit Plus, for the insights.